number of companies are currently vying for a share of the CCA enterprise, and many of these efforts are still shrouded in secrecy. But one program that has been publicly disclosed and that we can use as an example is the Boeing-led MQ in Australia. This 38-foot UCAV operates like any other fighter aircraft and offers a range of more than 2,000 nautical miles, over 2,300 miles. America's multi-role approach to air warfare has allowed America to focus on employing some of the most advanced and widely capable tactical aircraft ever to take to the air, each equipped to fly multiple missions depending on operational needs. It cannot be denied that this approach has been a very cost-effective approach to projecting power during the asymmetric conflicts of recent decades, but in the event of high-profile conflict, it can be problematic. No matter how multi-role your aircraft is, it can only be in one place at one time, and with fewer platforms than ever, losing a single modern fighter is a much more significant loss than in previous eras. The military role of unmanned aircraft systems is growing at an unprecedented rate. By 2005, tactical and theater-grade unmanned aircraft alone had flown more than 100,000 flight hours in support of operations. Throughout the campaign, further advances continued to contribute to a major increase in the number of unmanned systems deployed on the battlefield, a trend that continued after the American withdrawal from the Middle East and Central Asia. With the start of a new initiative at the Pentagon to rapidly deploy thousands of drones, the United States is now seeking to return to World War II peacekeeping methodologies with greater numbers. To do this, American defense officials aim to push the boundaries of what we have long considered science fiction, handing over much of the war effort to rapidly evolving, often AI-enabled, robots. The modern concept of U.S. military UAVs is to have multiple aircraft systems work together to support personnel on the ground. Integration schemes are described in the form of a tier system and are used by military planners to define the various individual aircraft elements within an overall deployment plan for integrated operations. Tiers do not refer to specific aircraft models, but rather the roles that various models and manufacturers compete in. The U.S. Air Force and U.S. Marine Corps each have their own grading systems, and the two systems are not integrated. Despite America's enormous defense spending, the number of warships, fighter planes, and similar platforms in America's arsenal has been steadily declining for decades. This is largely due to rapid advances in various technologies that allow fewer platforms to fill different roles. This is most clearly seen in the field of tactical aircraft. On the flight decks of American carriers, for example, we have seen rapid airframe consolidation since the end of World War II, with dedicated bombers, attack aircraft, reconnaissance platforms, and more being replaced by fighters with broader capabilities. Even the Navy's current primary electronic attack aircraft, the EA-18G Growler, is primarily a fighter because it shares the airframe with the F/A-18 Super Hornet and carries air-to-air missiles for self-defense. When you consider the range of capabilities that modern American multi-role fighters possess, these differences certainly make sense, but they do not change the problems these changes pose. The existing platforms in America may be very capable, but they are very expensive, difficult to replace, and too few in number to withstand large-scale conflict against comparable platforms. That's before you consider the potential losses to airmen and aircrew, or long-standing concerns about the level of readiness among America's most advanced systems. The solution, in the Pentagon's assessment, is not a return to the old-fashioned approach of quickly deploying relatively cheap manned aircraft and accepting that large numbers of those platforms, and their pilots, will be lost. Instead, Uncle Sam is now seeking a mix of doctrines, combining more modern and advanced platforms such as the next-generation air dominance and F/A-XX fighters with a large number of cheaper, more specialized drones that can be lost and replaced, without burdening America's budget or production infrastructure. Although much of the Department of Defense's current focus is on low-cost, reusable combat platforms, other efforts are focused on developing new methods of deploying existing munitions to reduce costs and provide greater battlefield effect. Last December, The U.S. Air Force's A-10 Thunderbolt II, often viewed as a relic of a bygone era, began training in support of a new approach to defeating enemy air defenses through chaotic volumes by incorporating ABM-160 miniature air-launched decoys, MALDs, into the arsenal. They're plain. The A-10 could be equipped with 16 of these handy decoys, which put it on par with the much larger B-52 Stratofortress. The 9-foot-long, 300-pound MALD looks like a missile, but instead of carrying explosives, it carries a signature augmentation subsystem, SAS, that can rebroadcast the radar of any aircraft in the U.S. arsenal to trick enemy air defenses into targeting the MALD instead of nearby missiles or planes. The latest version in service, the ABM-160C MALD-J, also includes a modular electronic warfare capability developed under the name Cerberus. More than just a single radar jammer, Cerberus offers a variety of electronic warfare (EW) payloads that can be switched in less than a minute, enabling EW attacks tailored to a variety of battlefield conditions. Superior technology is an advantage that the American military has historically leveraged to deter, fight, and win wars. But it's not just sophisticated weaponry that helps us fend off the enemy. Our strength also depends on our ability to deploy mass combat power to defeat the enemy. Building a single F-35C, which is a carrier-capable version of the stealth fighter, takes a total of 60,121 man-hours, according to a 2018 report from the Government Accountability Office. In contrast, during World War II it was reported that 20 carrier-capable F-4U Corsair fighters could be built in 240,000 man-hours, which works out to about 12,000 man-hours per carrier fighter. In other words, it takes about 5 times more man-hours to replace a modern carrier fighter than it did 80 years ago.